when you've got multiple parts.
If they running their mouth, then they looking for trouble. Ran right up in the knowledge, now they back in the huddle. See, they know we can fight, new content every week. Me and Dr. Clyde, keep on bringing the heat. Now they know that we driven, and they know we ain't quitting. Yoshi and Dr. Winner, keep on bringing the energy. Unity, unity, unity. See, they know we ain't stopping, and they know they got problems, and they ran out of options. If they know we got a problem, can't let it go unsolved. Bring back learning, Afrocentric history, we see tomorrow. Karma is karma, I say what I say, I hear underwater. Till I see I fall off, then I bring y'all up on note. I'm back up on my Clyde winners, 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 Clyde winners. Divine Winters, Clyde Winters, mind bender, Clyde Winters. I'm Richard, ride with ya, master teacher, create masters, Clyde Winters. Give respect to the elder, Clyde Winters. I know somebody else that living for me. I told you somebody else that looking for me. I think there's somebody else that looking for me. I think there's somebody else that looking for me.
We have to live by my heart. We have to live by my heart. I have not done wrong. I have not robbed. I have not stolen. I have not framed. I have not told lies. I have not stolen food. I was not stolen. I have not fornicated with the fornicator. I have not caused anyone to weep. I have not dissembled. I have not transgressed. I have not discussed secrets. I have brought no lawsuits. I have not wronged the population. I have not struck kill. I have not transgressed the law. I have not been hunted. Except when I'm talking about on the song. I have not made extolling. I have not bragged. I have not cursed. I have not been violent. I have not confounded truth. I have not been impatient. I have not cursed against
Dr. Winter's legacy is a testament to the power of knowledge and the unyielding spirit of exploration. His impact is felt worldwide, as he shares and enlightens at conferences, symposiums, and collaborative projects. His voice is a beacon in the academic world, challenging, inspiring, and always educating. His journey reminds us that the quest for knowledge is never-ending, and its impact is timeless. Dr. Winters teaches us to challenge the narratives and to learn with an open mind. As he always says, B1 is not a group, it's a lineage. Let his story inspire everybody to pursue knowledge relentlessly and to always seek the truth. Now let us welcome in the grandfather of research, the Trill OG himself, the Honorable Dr. Clyde Winters.
The researcher do the research. Oh, no, no. I don't get a kick out of telling lies. Let the researcher do the research. Oh, no, no. Spent years studying the times. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah, yeah. Black first, with strength we rise. Yeah, let the researcher do the research. Yeah, yeah. Uniting truth and kill the lie. lives. Let the researcher do the research. I'll learn to debunk my own craft. Respect is all that I ask. Dr. Winters, I was sent here to finish my task, to become the greatest researcher, and that's who I am. Dr. Winters, yeah. Na 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 na. Let the research gotta tell it lies. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah, yeah. I spent years studying the tides. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah, yeah. Black first, with strength we rise. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah, yeah. Unite in truth and kill the lies. Be one, be one, be one. Be one to win this
We have
fight.
to always
We must
remain
unite.
black
Stand up
first.
for the righteous and let your skin shine bright. Be one, be one, be one, be one.
What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? It's that time again. It's Thursday. It's Thursday afternoon. And what do we do on Thursday? On Thursday, we have Black History Gems, of course. Yes, this is Black History Gems, another meeting just between me and you, or us. And I'm here in a sense to talk to you about another important event in relationship to our history. Yes, yes, yes. Our history. That is foundational Black American history. And today, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about, in a sense, you know, about FBA history. Yes, yes, yes. I want to talk today about why we celebrate Juneteenth. Yes, today is Juneteenth. And Juneteenth is an kind of an important day in relationship to our history. Yes, Epic Erica said, "Happy Juneteenth." Yes, Happy Juneteenth. This is an important day. It's an important day because it allows us, in a sense, to discuss and talk about our relationship to our history. Yes, yes, yes. Today, I want to talk about why we celebrate Juneteenth, and this is important. And the reason that it's important is because the fact, in a sense, is that we've been not allowed, in a sense, to really know much of our history. And in fact, every Thursday I come to you because of the fact they refuse to tell us our history in its entirety. And the reason that they refuse to tell us our history in its entirety is because the fact is that history situates you. You know, they don't want you, they want you to feel, in a sense, that you got here and that they gave us freedom. And it's because of, in a sense, the kind-heartedness and the love of Europeans that they gave us freedom. No, they didn't give us freedom because of that. They gave us freedom because the fact, in a sense, is that the North was losing the war, and because the North was losing the war. Yes, because the North was losing the war during the Civil War, they felt that the best way to hurt Europeans was what? The best way to hurt Europeans, they felt, was for them, in a sense, to declare that we were free. They felt if they declared that we were free, then, in a sense, then and only then would they allow us to be able to win the Civil War. They felt the only way they could win the Civil War was by having, in a sense, Black people fight with them. Yes, yes, yes. They needed us to fight with them. They needed us to join them in this war of liberation. They needed us to join with them in this war so that they would be able to find and fight their freedom. They couldn't get, in a sense, their freedom for themselves. They hate the fact that the South was making all that money off of slavery, and they wasn't making that money. And because of the fact that they wasn't making the type of money they'd like to make, they wanted to stop slavery. Yes, they wanted to stop slavery because if they couldn't get a big hand in it, they was going to make sure, hopefully, that nobody, in a sense, can make that real money. And that's why we're here in this situation. But today I want to talk about, why we celebrate Juneteenth. I think it's important that we do discuss this issue. And thanks again for joining us again this Thursday. So let's get started. Why we celebrate Juneteenth? FBA have never waited for whites to give us a holiday. That's right. We've never waited for whites to give us a holiday. You see, we have such a beautiful ancestry, such a beautiful history. Much of our history is unwritten, and it will remain unwritten because of the fact, in a sense, is that they don't want you to know your history. They don't want you to know that we built pyramids. They don't want you to know that the history of the Olmec and how the Olmec people directly from Africa came here and contributed to the rise of these United States. This is scary. It is really scary. And the reason that it's scary is because the fact, in a sense, is that when you really know the greatness of our history, when you really know our contributions to history, it's kind of almost, in a sense, overpowering because many of us don't even want to know our history. Yes, many of us don't want to know our history because many of us don't want to, in a sense, have to face the fact is that we do have a great history. They don't want to face the fact, in a sense, is that much of what they've been taught has been a lie. Yes. They don't want to know. Many of us don't want to know our history. Many of us don't want to know the greatness of our history. Many of us don't want to know the fact, in a sense, is that this whole country, the culture, the civilization of this whole country is dependent upon you. It's dependent upon me. It's dependent upon us. Yes. That's why, in a sense, when you think about the greatness of our ancestry, when you think about our contributions, when you think about the things that we brought here to this world, that we brought here to this country, that we've given to mankind, it is almost kind of scary. And the reason that it's scary is because the fact, in a sense, is that nobody on the planet would want to believe that one group of people, a downtrodden people, a people been beaten down, a people mistreated, a people hated by just about everybody on the planet Earth. Yes, FBA people are hated by everyone on the planet Earth, and yes, they all want to partake in half of our culture. They all want to be able to say, in a sense, is that they too are foundational Black Americans. So they cosplay us, but even though they cosplay us in a sense, not out of respect, but they cosplay us as culture vultures. Yes, they're culture vultures. They're vultures in the sense is that they want to eat away at us. They're vultures in a sense because they want to steal our ancestry. They're vultures because they want to steal our strength. They're vultures because they want to steal you and me and give themselves a place of meaning, give themselves a reality. You can go to Patreon to see the slides. After I do this presentation, I'm going to put my slides on Patreon. Go to Clyde Winter's YouTube videos, the station that you're on now. Come here and look at these videos. I have over here over 400 videos that deal with every aspect of Black history, every aspect of Black history. And you can order my books at Amazon.com. Let the researcher do the research. Yes, let the researcher do the research. This is something we forget. We need to let the researcher do the research because the fact is that the research needs to be done. And the only way it can be done is if you let the researcher do the research. Let the researcher do the research. Yes, let the researcher do the research. Dr. Clyde Winters, let him do the research. We need more researchers like Dr. Clyde Winters. Yes. Let the researcher do the research. Yes, we don't understand that it takes people who want to do research to be able, in a sense, to tell us our history. Yes, many people have taken my course, The Afrocentric Researcher. You can take it too. All you got to do is join. But if you don't, in a sense, join understand that it's through your hard work, through your persistence, that you can become a researcher. Yes, yes, yes. Let the researcher do the researcher. You know what? I've written some books that can help you to be a researcher. Those books are Pathfinder, Clyde Winters in Search of the Roots of Afrocentric Studies. Yes, yes, this book is an important book. It'll help you learn all about your history. My other book is Afrocentric Researcher by Dr. Clyde Winters. This book, in a sense, is the most important book that you will find. What makes this book important is that the Afrocentric Researcher provides you with a course, yes, provides you with a course outline that tells you all the things you do to be a great researcher. Yes, get these books, The Afrocentric Researcher, and in a sense, get my book, Pathfinder. These books are the books you need to be successful, the books that will make you a great researcher. Get these books, but let the researcher do the research, but you can be the researcher too. What is FBA? FBA is not a group. FBA is a lineage. A lineage is lineal descent from an ancestor, ancestry or pedigree. As a result, we are descendants of the African and Aboriginal blacks who built the United States. Yes, yes, we are FBA. B1 is acknowledging your Black African ancestry and mod, not heritage. We must be race men and women proud of our culture and African Black ancestry. Black equal brilliant. Yes, yes. B1 is being Black. B1 is Black first. B1 is brilliant first. Yes, yes, yes. We are Black and brilliant. That's who we are. We're B1. And this is something we must always remember and almost take into account. Juneteenth should not be a day of just wearing t-shirts made in China and cooking barbecue. It must be a solemn day. We teach our children and each other the history of slavery and how we fought to be free of chattel slavery. Yes, yes, yes. We fought to be free of chattel slavery. Yes, we are free of chattel slavery, but we remain POWs. We are POWs because we never signed a peace treaty with the United States. No, no. We've been at war with the United States for over 246 years, but we never signed a peace treaty. FBA are the native Black people of North America, the foundational Black Americans. FBA is not a group. FBA is not an organization. FBA is a lineage. A lineage is lineal descent from an ancestor, ancestry or pedigree. We are not just Africans. As a result, we are descendants of the African and Aboriginal Blacks who built these United States. FBA, B1. Immigrant Blacks and the settlers, yes, white Americans. They tell us we should forget about the Mafa. Yes, the Mafa Holocaust. And this Mafa Holocaust was slavery, which led to our enslavement and suffering in this country, and the reason we fight for freedom and justice today. Today, some Black people, due to self-hate and ignorance, hate being Black. As a result, they claim to be anything else but Black. They call themselves Pan-Africans, Native Americans, and Asians. These dumb Negroes are trying to make a revision of Black American history. None of these titles suit us because we are the foundational people of America. We're the foundational people of America. FBA, baby. We are prisoners of war. Yes, we are prisoners of war. Neely Fuller said, if you do not understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Yes, 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 yes. Neely Fuller taught us that. Neely Fuller also taught us the purpose for studying Black history is not to find out how great you were. It is to find out what mistakes were made that got us in our current situation. Yes, yes, yes. See? Yes, yes. You have to gain more from history, and that's why I'm here talking to you today, because we need to really discuss this issue. We really need to discuss Juneteenth. We are taught a fake history of enslavement in the USA. We've been taught that the only black people came here from Africa as slaves. This is a big lie. This lie was taught us to try and inculcate in us genetic cowardice. Yes, genetic cowardice. What is genetic cowardice? Genetic cowardice is the inculcation of fear of white people while seeing other black people as the enemy as a result of white supremacy. The first chattel slaves were Aboriginal blacks and Black Irish and Scotsmen who had been, in a sense, deported after the massacres and genocide committed against these people. In the USA, there was a different organization of the slave plantation. You had master, the white overseer, and the Negro driver. Thusly, the driver might administer punishment upon their fellow slaves, but it was clear to the rest of the slaves he was forced to administer the punishment. This arrangement resulted from the fact that the chattel slaves in the USA began as Aboriginal people defeated in wars by the settlers, or Black Irish and Scotsmen defeated in wars after 1649 in Scotland and Ireland by Oliver Cromwell. As a result, the slave master could not count on Aboriginal and Baradanak slaves to punish their kinsmen. The first sub-Saharan Africans that came to the United States were POWs, enslaved as a result of slave trade, slave raiding. Very important to remember. Often they try to teach you that that the first slaves, chattel slaves, were introduced into the Americas in 1619. Yes, there were some people who came to the Africans that came to America in 1619, but they were not, in a sense, chattel slaves. No, they were not chattel slaves, you see. And this is something that you must understand. The first slaves had already been native people. The Aboriginal people were the first slaves. They were the first ones to work on those rice plantations and those, in a sense, sugar plantations. Yes. These people, in a sense, did not come from Africa. They were the native-born black people who were forced to be chattel slaves by the whites. The Black Indian slave trade decimated the Black Indian community. Between 1670 and 1715, an estimated 40,000 to 50,000, that's a very low number, Black Native Americans were sold into slavery into the Caribbean. Most of these slaves were blacks from the Carolinas. Yes, North, South Carolina. The Europeans provided the Black Indians with smallpox, blankets, guns, and cheap goods to purchase slaves. Between 1670, the majority of Black Native Americans sold in slavery by the whites and Indian slave traders were the Choctaw and Yamasee and other Carolina tribes. Black Indians like the Yamasee and Pequot became slaves after losing wars. During the colonial days, the Europeans would go to war against the Black Native Americans to get slaves. As a result, entire Black tribes were murdered, and the captured Black Native Americans were made slaves on American and Caribbean plantations. It is a myth that many slaves in the USA were first broken into slavery in the Caribbean and then transported to the USA. The Caribbean plantation owners were always desperate for slaves, so any slave taken to the West Indies remained there. Don't believe that shit about the fact is that they broke the slaves in the Caribbean, brought them. You know, that is a lie. That is a lie. In many states, the enslavement of red Indians were outlawed. As a result, when some settlers needed slaves, they would attack a village of Black Indians, capture the survivors, and sell them to the West Indies, and then sell back to the USA and declare that these American Indians had been slaves from the Caribbean. Yes. They could get away with this because as I told you in the beginning, many Aboriginal Americans were black, like the Negroes, black like the Africans. They were black. And because of the fact, in the sense that they were black and they didn't speak English, often you could get away with selling them as being African slaves, when in reality, they had never seen Africa. Maybe their ancestors had come from Africa thousands of years ago, but they weren't African. No. The Native American slave trade decimated the Black community. Yes. It was the farming skills of the Black Native Americans that made them valuable as slaves in the United States and Caribbean. Sadly, many Mongoloid and Black Native Americans sold the Black Indians into slavery, respect to the Choctaw. The Choctaw and Chickasaw held slaves in bondage to work on their plantations, but most other black Native Americans welcomed Africans into their villages as free men and women. But it should never be forgotten that Africans and black Indians were sold at the same slave markets. Yes, yes, yes. They were sold at the slave market. Take a minute and study that picture. Here you can see a black Indian being sold, and then an African woman waiting to be sold next. Yes, yes, yes. They sold black squaws, Indians, and they sold, in a sense, black Africans. In African colonies in the Caribbean, whites were a minority. As a result, they served as lords of the land. They allowed their slaves to inflict punishment over their fellow slaves. This ingrained in many colonized Africans and Caribbean people the idea that the white man was a demigod, all powerful, while the black people who punished them as slaves or served in the militias in Africa were the real enemies. Things were different in the USA. The settlers made it clear they were in charge. Yes, yes. In the USA, the settlers made it clear they were in charge. They beat your ass. They whipped you. They whumped you. They treated you badly. They did not want to be playing around. They did not think about no black intermediaries. They was going to do all the public humiliation themselves. You see? You see? The white people in the United States have never been ashamed, never been afraid, never been tired of whooping our ass. Sis, if they could. They always wanted to make sure that black people recognize the consequence of any type of rebellion, that black people recognize the consequence of any type of fighting. You know, often in a sense, they would take a stake and they would nail it from a black man's ass all the way and have it come out through his mouth. They would cut off black people's heads. Yes, yes. When you visited many plantations back in the day, you often found a rotted head. Yes, you found a rotted head or a rotted body to show you what would happen to you if you tried to run away, to show what would happen to you if you tried to be rebel. Slavery was not a very clean sport. Slavery was not a sport at all. Slavery was about torture. Slavery was about terror. Terror, I tell you. Dr. Joy DeGruy wrote a book, The Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. You see, Dr. DeGruy addresses the residual impacts of trauma on African descendants in the Americas. Post-traumatic slave syndrome, PTSS, lays the groundwork for understanding how the past has influenced the present and opens up the discussion of how we can eliminate non-productive attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors developed to cope and survive the traumatic periods of capture and transport. Yes, read some of these books of Dr. Joy DeGruy. Herbert Aptheker, an American Negro slave revolt, listed 250, yes, 250 slave revolts against whites. The first Maroons fought whites in 1526. In 1526, blacks overthrew the Spanish colony of Lucas Vasquez de Leon. Even though there were 500 Spanish and only 100 blacks in the colony, along with their Indian friends, the Spanish was forced to return to Haiti. And in a sense, those black people, those Africans, they in a sense stayed in the Americas and were free. The enslaved people had many reasons to flee their plantations. The causes behind people becoming Maroons might be the overseer's whip, a master celebrating the 4th of July, or a powerful sermon. Enslaved people knew what freedom was. Solomon Northrop, a freeman kidnapped by slavers and sold into slavery, wrote in 12 Years a Slave in 1853, and I quote, enslaved people do not fail to observe the difference between their own condition and the meanest white man's, and to realize the injustice of laws which place within his power not only to appropriate the profits of their industry, but to subject them unmerited and unproved punishment without remedy or the right to resist or to remonstrate. Yes, yes, yes. They often, in a sense, just punish the African slaves, the black slaves, for nothing. They often, in a sense, want to, in a sense, make sure that they encourage us to have an inferiority complex because they wanted us to be in fear of them. Yes, they wanted us to be in fear of them. And they felt that the best way to make sure, in a sense, that we feared them was to inflict upon us trauma. Reasons for maroonage. The Maroons usually made their settlements in the swamps and badlands or among Indians. They were often chased into these areas by dogs and men with guns. The Maroon might hide in the forest until his anger towards his master might subside or the need for food. Other enslaved people stayed in the swamps and woods with their families for weeks, months, and years, or followed the North Star to Canada to gain independence and freedom. Maroons lived in many Yamasee communities. The Yamasees was a tribe of Black Native Americans who originally lived in Florida and southern Georgia until they were forced to migrate north into South Carolina by the Spanish in the 16th century. The Yamasee were part of the Muskogean Confederacy. This was the confederacy of Mongoloid and Black Native Americans. Look on the left. Here you can see some Indians. Yes, you see Aboriginal people fighting in a sense, the white man. Look at these people. Look at these people. Some of them wearing turbans, others wearing kufi hats, others wearing red bandanas, some carrying shields, some carrying axes, tomahawks, swords, etc. Some dressed up in African garb, some dressed up in Muslim garb, and some just out there to fight. Yes, we are, in a sense, a people who were fighters. That is one of the reasons that foundational Black Americans fight. We fight. They never signed a peace treaty with us. No. They never signed a peace treaty with us. Many Black people ran away and lived in the Great Dismal Swamp. Between 1700 and 1856, thousands of Maroons lived in the Great Dismal Swamp of Virginia and North Carolina. The first Maroons to settle in the Dismal Swamp lived on an island in the marshes called Mystics, a dry and high part of the swamp. The Great Dismal Swamp Maroons were both runaway slaves and freedmen. It was a major route on the Underground Railroad. Yes. And one of the things that the white man did, once slavery was over, was in a sense to fill up the Dismal Swamp. They filled it up, to make sure, in a sense, that it would never be another place where Black people could run away and hide. They wanted to make sure it would never be another place, in a sense, where Black people would be safe from the prying eyes, safe from the terror of the white man. Yes, the terror of the white man. The Seminole War began in 1837. The white militiamen reported that the Maroon fighters, I quote, were the most formidable foe, more bloodthirsty, active, and vengeful than the Indians. The three Black Seminoles War cost the United States government $40 million. That was $40 million back in the day. That would be billions of dollars today. That would be over at least over 10 billion. Just to show you how much money it costs to fight these Black people and the power of these Seminole Indians. The Seminoles killed 1,500 white troops and tens of slave catchers. General Jessup, a commander of soldiers during the war, stated that I would rather fight 500 white men than these Blacks. In relation to the Civil War, we have two different stories about the role of FBA during the war. The usual story has FBA only digging trenches and performing menial tasks for the Union Army. Or we have the movie Glory, in which soldiers of the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment attacked Fort Wagner, a Confederate bastion on Morris Island, South Carolina, in which half the FBA soldiers died in 1863. In reality, around 200,000 foundational Black Americans fought in the Civil War as United States colored troops. During the Civil War, 179,000 Blacks served as soldiers in the U.S. Army and 19,000 served in the Navy. An additional 200,000 FBA civilians, men and women, hauled away the dead, dug trenches, cooked meals, and other tasks. Yes. We were fully, in a sense, involved in our freedom. Don't get it twisted. Please don't get it twisted, family. Please don't get it twisted. We fought for our freedom. They did not give us anything. Foundational Black Americans have never been given anything. Everything that foundational Black Americans got in America, we fought for it. Everything we got in America, we had to, in a sense, often fight and die for it. Nobody gave us none then and none today. We fought. We fought. We fought in a sense to ensure the fact, in a sense, that we would be free. We fought to let them know that you could not just, in a sense, harm us and that we wouldn't want to retaliate. Yes. And when we were allowed to fight, when we were given guns and ammunition, when we were given swords, when we was given a knife, we fought. We fought and we fought, you see. In the fall of 1862, there were at least 3 Union regiments of African Americans raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Louisiana National Guard. These units later became the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Infantry Corps d'Afrique, and then the 73rd, 74th, and 75th United States Colored Infantry. The 1st South Carolina Infantry of African descent was not officially organized until January 1863. However, 3 companies of the regiment were on coastal expeditions as early as November 1962. They would become the 33rd United States Colored Troops, similarly the 1st Kansas Colored Infantry, later the 79th New United States Colored Infantry was not mustered into service until January 1863. Even though the regiment already participated in the actions at Island Mound, Missouri on October 27, 1862, we were fighting in the war. Don't let nobody tell you that we didn't fight for our freedom. These early unofficial regiments received little federal support, but they showed the strength of African Americans and our desire to fight for our own freedom. Yes, fight for our own freedom. The first FBA recruits were Free FBA and Gullah Geechee in 1862. Many of these men were unofficially allowed to enlist in the Union Army. After President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, January 1st, 1863, Black soldiers were officially allowed to participate in the war. At the beginning of the Civil War, free Black men tried to enlist in the United States military unions. They were, however, not allowed to join because there was a federal law from 1792 that didn't allow Black people to bear arms. Some generals refused to obey this law. General John C. Fremont in Missouri and General David Hunter, South Carolina, issued proclamations that free slaves in their military regions were permitted to enlist, but their superiors revoked their orders. Black men have fought. Black men have fought. Yes, we fought. We did not mind, in a sense, fighting or dying to free ourselves. Don't get it twisted. The actions of these generals led to Congress passing the Second Confiscation and Militia Act, freeing enslaved people whose enslavers were in the Confederate Army on July 17, 1862. 2 days later, slavery was abolished in the territories of the United States, and on July 22, 1862, President Lincoln presented the preliminary draft of the Emancipation Proclamation to his cabinet. We fought for our freedom. Many of us died. You see, General Orders Number 143, War Department Adjutant General Office. This, in a sense, allowed us to join. Look at this picture on the right-hand side. This boy, in a sense, he was ragged, he was torn, and yet he was brave enough to become a drummer boy. Yes, a drummer boy for the United States. We fought to preserve our freedom. We fought, in a sense, to be able to be free, you see. It's very important to understand that we didn't just accept slavery without trying to repel them. And when the opportunity came to fight, we were there to fight. Look at him. Look at the type of clothes we wore back then. You got one pair of clothes and maybe, but not often, but maybe you might get some shoes. Look at that brother. Look at how we had to dress. Look at how we had to survive. Look at it. Isn't it any wonder why today we put an emphasis on nice clothes, having nice things? See? Look at where we came from. Come on, family. Look at where we came from. They didn't want you to be in these highfalutin places today. They didn't want you to have nice clothes, nice jobs, nice homes, let alone having these beautiful cars, being able to fly around the world. They wanted to keep you just like that brother on the left-hand side. See, that's what they thought we should be. That's what they thought we should be able to do. They thought that we should just be their victims. They thought we should just be their property. We said, no way, Jose. United States colored troops were Union Army regiments during the American Civil War that primarily comprised African Americans, with soldiers from other ethnic groups also serving in USCT units. A Union general said, here the Negro stood in the full glare of the greatest searchlight, part and parcel of the grandest army ever mustered upon this continent, competing side by side with the best and bravest of the Union Army against the flower of the Confederacy, the best and bravest of Lee's army. Yes, we fought. Yes, we won. You know, Neely Fuller, he said it's a code that FBA should live by since we're prisoners of war. This code is just 10 basic. It's only 10 basic things in the code. Stop snitching. Stop name calling. Stop cursing. Most of all, stop gossiping. Stop being discourteous with one another. Stop stealing from each other. Stop robbing one another. Stop fighting. Stop killing. Stop squabbling. Yes. If we lived by these 10 basic stops, we would have a better community. And this is why the European, he has spent all of his life trying to make sure, in a sense, he keeps us divided. Because he don't want you, in a sense, to practice those 10 stops. He wants you to continue to fight each other, snitch on each other, kill each other, argue with each other, gossip on each other. Yes, this is what he wants us to do, keep us divided. FBA, our POWs, prisoners of war, because our ancestors were defeated after armed conflict with 1, English settlers in North America, 2, Oliver Cromwell's suppression and genocide of marauding acts, the Black Irish and Scotsmen that between 1649 and 1660 were sent to the America as chattel slaves. Yes, the original Black Irish, and between 1649 and 1660, they were sold into slavery. Those later people, in the sense, who were Irish, they weren't the original Irish. That's why they didn't know how to farm, and that's why they ended up having a potato famine. The latter Irish were descendants of those Caucasian mercenaries that were used to drive the blacks out of, in a sense, Britain and Ireland. All 3 of these populations were made chattel property as enslaved people. Our mixture on the plantation and segregated free Black communities led to the rise of foundational Black American lineage. Yes. We are the product of an ethnogenesis that led us to become FBA all the way. Thus, the FBA are born in captivity and oppressed by our captors. But FBA cannot prove white supremacy exists. No, we can't prove white supremacy exists, because as prisoners of war, we are officially defined as a people by the white supremacists. Thus, the mere declaration that the foundational Black American lineage exists is a revolutionary act, because it is an identity not sanctioned by our captors. No, they don't want you to call yourself foundational Black Americans. They want you to call yourselves Negro, African, anything but that. Because, see, to say that you're FBA is to say that you've decided and that you had the power to name yourself. Truth in a system of white supremacy is therefore whatever the white man says truth is. This is why most Blacks rarely accept a Black person as an authority in anything, unless that Black person is first recognized as an authority by the white man. Yes. Even up to today, we still often feel that that those black people who are sanctioned by white people as being, in a sense, intelligent, creative, inventors, or whatever, those are, in a sense, the black people we should follow. They don't want you to follow black men and women who have strength, black men and women who have confidence, black men and women who feel that we can be superior and that we can be, in a sense, able and independent to do things on our own without white supervision. Because of FBA, our POWs, they suffer from cognitive dissonance because of white supremacy. See? Yes, yes. Cognitive dissonance exists because under the system of white supremacy, reality is defined as whatever whites say it is. Yes. We are under an illusion that's been produced through cognitive dissonance because of the fact, in the sense, that we live in a white supremacist world, a world in which the white man has made it our entire lives to believe that we should be their property. They've made it so that white people feel that they should, in a sense, be able to own us and that we belong to them, and they should be able to do whatever mean or dastardly thing they want to do to us. The best evidence of white supremacy, according to Fuller, is the failure of words to be properly defined. E.g., they say race is a biological fiction. But look at these pictures: Caucasian, African, Mongoloid. They tell you that race is a biological fiction, but you can look at these pictures of Caucasians, these pictures of Africans, these pictures of Mongoloid, that they do not look alike. They are different phenotypically. And yet, the white man makes you believe that race is a biological fiction. Frederick Douglass, December 31st, 1862, wrote, "It is a day for poetry and song, a new song. These cloudless skies, this balmy air, this brilliant sunshine are in harmony with the glorious morning of liberty about to dawn up on us." Yes, this is what he said before the Emancipation Proclamation was enacted. Yes, it was a time of joy. It was a time of ready. The proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves within the rebellious states are and henceforth shall be free. It applied only to states that had seceded from the United States, leaving slavery untouched in the loyal border states. Since 1863, many FBA have celebrated the 1st of January as Emancipation Day. Since the 1st of January, 1863 was when the Emancipation Proclamation would go into effect. Yes, yes, yes. Emancipation Day. That's New Year's. Since 1866, the people of Charleston have celebrated the 1st January as Emancipation Day. Yes, yes. Celebrate. Get the band out, baby. FBA freed by Emancipation Proclamation and given 40 acres and a mule under Special Order 15. The Emancipation Proclamation. The proclamation declared that all persons held as slaves in rebellious states are, and henceforth shall be free. It applied only to states that had seceded from the United States, leaving slavery untouched in the loyal border states. Special Order 15. The order explicitly called for the settlement of black families on confiscated land, encouraged freedmen to join the Union Army to help sustain their newly won liberty, and designated a general officer to act as inspector of settlements. Inspector General Rufus Saxton would police the land and work to ensure legal title of the property for the black settlers. In the latter order, Sherman also authorized the Army to loan mules to the early settlers, farmers. All of that was revoked by President Johnson. Think about that. We fought our freedom. We were given land, and then they took it all away. Yes, yes, yes. They took it all away. They took it all away. It was the 13th Amendment passed 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation that outlawed slavery forever for all foundation of Black Americans in these United States. This is our general, let's look at our General Order 13. The people are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This was at Galveston, Texas on June 19, 1865. This involves an absolute equality of personal freedom, personal rights, and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor. Yes, yes, yes. The freemen are advised to remain at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts and that they will not be supported in idleness, either there or elsewhere. Yes, as you can see, they still want to make sure we recognize the fact that who's going to work. Yes, they still want to make sure that Black people stayed in one place. And in a way, they said we were free. But in a way, this order was made because they wanted us to hang around our former masters so they could still control us. Sad, isn't it? To celebrate Juneteenth, we have a tradition that suits the occasion. It was made possible because of Blacks fighting in the Civil War to free themselves. It must have cultural significance. As part of the barbecue, we must also eat hoe cakes and collard greens. Yes, yes, yes. Hot water cornbread is also named as corn pone, hoe cakes, or corn dodgers. And then another common thing to eat was collard greens. To get you some hot water cornbread and some collard greens and celebrate, baby. Hot water cornbread and collard greens and celebrate, baby. Yes, yes. Hoe cakes were the bread of life. Yes. Hoe cakes were the bread of life. You take your hoe, clean it off, get some water, wash it off, put it over fire, and then pour that damn cornbread, that hot water cornbread, that hoe cake on the hoe, and fry it, baby. Fry it nice and brown. Yaza, yaza. I just want me some hoe cake and collard greens. Remember, we get our substance from the soil. Yes, yes, yes. In conclusion, FBA have a great history of struggle to be free. As a result, the settlers have never given us anything we didn't fight for. This is our land. We're of the soil and founded the tradition and culture of these United States. As a result, Black Native Americans should celebrate Juneteenth because it is a tradition we created. It is a way that we show that we are free. Yes, this is our way to show our freedom. We are no longer their slaves. Right on, baby. Right on. Right on. It only comes from us fighting. That's the only way that we're going to have true freedom. Again, thank you for joining us again for Black History Gems. Join us next Thursday for another Black History Gem. Yes, yes, yes. Join us at 3 p.m. Central Time so that we can discuss, in a sense, our history. So we can, in a sense, discuss our greatness. So we can understand that we have to fight for each other. We have to understand what our history is. Yes, yes, yes. We have to understand that we sold each other. And because we sold each other, we are living in this bad, negative situation today. Our identity and our culture as Black foundational Americans. Yes, yes. Wars between Black Indians and whites were manufactured to produce Black slaves for whites. The English, the French, and the Dutch provided the Native Americans with guns, rum, and cheap goods to purchase Native American Indian slaves. Between 1670 and 1720, many Black Native Americans were enslaved. The Black Native Americans were sold into slavery throughout the 13 colonies, Mississippi Valley, Canada, and the British West Indies. The majority of Black Native Americans sold into slavery by whites and Indians. Slave traders were the Choctaw, the Yamasee, and other Carolina tribes. Yes, yes. Many of these tribes, like the Mandi, Mandinga, many of these tribes, we lost their names. And their names have been lost to history because of the fact, in a sense, that when the European came, as he conquered these Black Indians, he just made them slaves. And so over time, in a sense, their nations disappeared. Over time, in a sense, their history wasn't recorded. Over time, they were even able to to deny that Aboriginal blacks even existed in America. They wanted to give our Aboriginal ancestors gifts. And the only problem with the gifts that they gave us was that often these blankets that they gave us carried smallpox, yes, diseases. They also, in a sense, gave us another gift, rum, fire water. And this rum caused an addiction among us. In a sense, it led to a demand for guns because it incentivized Indian slave trading. Yes, the first slaves sold in America were Indians, black Indians, selling other black Indians to Europeans to work on their cotton, not on their cotton plantations, their tobacco plantations, their rice plantations. Yes. We sold each other over here, just like in Africa, because of the fact is that we failed to understand that we are one. We should be united based upon our identity and our culture as black foundational Americans. Yes. Reparations, baby, reparations. We deserve reparations. We deserve reparations like yesterday, not just today. No, not just today. We deserve our reparations. Give us our money, baby. Cut the check.
Cut the check, black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much. Say less, remain on cold, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough, it's time for resilience. Cut the check, black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much. Say less, remain on cold, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough, it's time for
The only thing that can save you is be one, be one, be one.